This is Sniper Elite Resistance. We're here on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and the game is PS5 Pro Enhanced. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. This is the latest entry in the Sniper Elite series. I guess you could call it a bit of a spin-off. I mean, it's certainly like a mainline release, but it's not numbered, and it features a new protagonist in a different sort of scenario and conflict, and that's why I'm kind of considering it a bit of a spin-off and or continuation of the series. It's definitely quite different if you're getting used to a new protagonist and a different sort of, combat scenario, but it's very much in line with the existing offerings that the Sniper Elite franchise has come to offer. The game also seems smaller in scope in comparison to Sniper Elite 5, which is, oh, come on. An entry that came out not too long ago and is a really, really quite great game. Honestly, definitely worth checking out. And if you like the vibe of that one, this is definitely continuing that style of gameplay, combat, and action. So we've got a few different ways to play Sniper Elite Resistance. This includes the campaign, which is what we're playing now. Then there is survival mode, which features a couple, literally two from what I saw, unless there's more online, survival maps, where you're trying to survive alone or cooperatively against waves of enemies. Then there is the kind of invasion setting for the campaign, where a player, if you have invasion on, you can invade or someone else can invade your game and come in and try to kill you while you're trying to do your mission. I got it turned off right now because I was rushing to get this review all set up and everything like that. And yeah, I definitely got surprised, has to say, by somebody that came in and kind of shot me down, which was a bit annoying. But yeah, that is a mechanic of the game. There's also the online multiplayer, so the game can be played online competitively in matches of up to 16 players. It's actually quite fun multiplayer. I definitely would recommend taking a look at it, at least from a traditional element. I didn't really get to experience the multiplayer here for this particularly entry in the series, just because, well, I mean, I'm ahead of launch playing this and setting it up, so I didn't really get to spend time with it. But basically, I was fiddling around with it. You got your deathmatch, you got your competitive stuff. There's one where it's like a trench warfare. You're not allowed to cross the line. Like, both teams are fixed on their particular, spot of the map, which is really interesting. And you just kind of fire away and snipe at each other, which is really, really cool. So with Sniper Elite Resistance being PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced, that does mean they're taking, full advantage of the hardware here for this entry. So it's basically a full 4K at 60 FPS. It's smooth, it looks good, runs well, no issues. HDR support, you can use console, keyboard, mouse. There's settings in the video options or whatever, or controller options, where you can adjust your, keyboard, mouse settings. And that is the scenario for this particular game when it comes to visuals and things like that. But yeah, it's very clean. I did notice, I don't know if it's like an aliasing thing, but some buildings in the far distance have like a bit of a fuzz type look to them in some situations. You may think that's some kind of like, technical kind of thing, but it's like grass and stuff is totally fine. It just like, it seems like the edges aren't like totally smoothed out on some like further back type buildings. I am really not taking the stealthy approach in this particular situation, which is not ideal. So yeah, you've got a selection of, I think it's like 8 maps, really. There is also like a bonus kind of level, and then there's also like a DLC type level that I don't have access to ahead of release. and that's kind of the foundation of the game. It felt a little limited in terms of levels. Like, it was a decently lengthy campaign. I think it was about normal, but like the fourth level is a reuse of the first level, but it's like a part of the different, like, part of the map. It's like expanded upon. So I was a little disappointed where I was like, oh wow, they're like reusing the same level, and it's like literally only been a couple levels. And I don't know, like, I felt like it was a little kind of minimal. It was a little hard getting used to the new protagonist, but honestly, after, you know, a few like rounds, few levels, I was like, I'm gonna like this guy. I don't mind him. He's definitely different, and it is interesting because obviously the protagonist of, you know, the Sniper Elite series really has been known to be like Carl Fairburn, and it is very odd that Tony the Tiger isn't voicing the main character of this game. But hopefully they got another Sniper Elite game somewhere down the road, and he returns for another one, where one last entry would be pretty cool. So yeah, this game is kind of interesting. So I've talked about the different, I guess you would say, like, modes and everything like that, but I do want to talk more about the campaign itself. So they're embracing a little bit more of a Hitman-like style. I actually kind of wish they would embrace that even fuller in regards to having you maybe like set up matches or share other matches and have like more dynamic replaying of levels. I think would be cool. But in this game, you can play a level, find new ways to kind of like enter said level, like unlock new ways to enter the level and different exit ways, and you unlock stuff for going to like different regions, and that in itself can be pretty cool, and it adds a little bit more replayability. I like that was an option for this particular game. Like, it was kind of cool to see that sort of grow, and I hope they do, with future entries, push that even further, because I think the concept just makes a lot of sense for Sniper Elite to have that sort of thing. But yeah, the game itself, quite enjoyable, as per usual. I really like the Sniper Elite series. I've enjoyed them a lot over the years. This one did seem like it maybe could have used a bit more polishing in terms of like AI objectives and checkpoints, though. So I'm playing on normal, and like a lot of the time I was kind of sitting there being like, wow, what am I, like, playing on hard difficulty or something? Because like the AI is like razor sharp. Like, the AI has been kind of, I don't think they've been super like smart in this showcase of the game that I've been doing in this video, but like they will somehow, they're actually acting really dumb at this point for some reason, but yeah, like they will have an alert on you and know where you are, and then like somehow, okay, so usually they stop going after you, if that makes sense. Like, the AI will kind of, after a while, if you're like in one spot, they'll kind of give up and things will calm down. It's a video game, right? It's supposed to be not necessarily realistic, blah blah blah, to some degree, but like they just kind of don't stop in this game. Like, I literally left it because they just would not leave me alone. I left it, I went and had dinner, I came back, and like they were still on high alert, knowing where I am, and they can like follow you through buildings and walls. So like I would, for instance, I would leave an area, and immediately, like, I'd be running around buildings and stuff like that, but I would come around a building and they would just lock on and know where I was. They'd like follow me through the building sometimes and know where I was headed and what I was doing. I would go through like an underground little cave thing, and they would follow me to where the end of it was, as if they were like following me through the wall, and they would set up like ambushes where there'd be like several guys out of nowhere, and they would just know where I was. A lot of like basically shooting at where I'm going and stuff like that, ahead of where I'm going. Like, it just kind of like felt a little overly knowledgeable at times. And it's a little easier because I've also leveled up my character a bit. Like, you have a skill system in this game. So skills, you gain skill points, you use the skills to get things such as health or the ability to, you know, do more damage or have extra items, carry more stuff, have more explosives, body abilities, your heart rate, stuff like that, which is kind of neat. But yeah, I found that, you know, kind of like the element of where exactly, you know, they just know where I am at times. It was a little frustrating because I don't, like, I like an okay challenge, but when I'm playing Sniper Elite, it is more about being, like, feeling like I'm a super elite sniper and that I'm stealthy, and, like, they had, like, really high alertness. Like, sometimes I wouldn't even be trying to trigger their awareness or something like that, but the AI would just know where I am, and it just felt a bit strange at times, was kind of what I was trying to get at, basically. It's just like, how do they know sometimes? It was a bit off, needless to say. And, yeah, the AI, it just felt a little finicky at times, I guess would be a way that I would go about it. Like, it is weird. I love the increased complexity of the maps. There's all these cool little hidey spots. Like, these levels are all very large, very beautifully detailed. They've got, like, nice music going on. They're quite a lot of fun to move through and figure out, and like there's a lot of freedom within the maps, which I think is great. Another issue I was kind of mentioning was the checkpoints. There was times where I would do a couple of objectives on a map and I would never get a checkpoint, and then there was times where basically I would get a checkpoint like too quickly, and I would be literally like, I had one checkpoint where I was spawning, getting like x-rayed myself. X-raying is when they do those gruesome attacks where it's all zoomed in and stuff, and I would just get blasted over and over again. I'd be like, really? And then you have like a few autosaves you can use, but as you continue playing, the autosaves get a little bit more messed up in terms of
this must be the light.
Kind of like how close they are to you, so you don't really get a lot of like back options, which can get you to a situation where you are trapped, as to say. And then another aspect I wanted to talk about was the objectives. So this game is kind of awkward in the sense that it's hard to figure out what you're doing. So I think I can pause here and not get shot. But like, okay, it'll be like, okay, locate the tunnel, and then it's a big circle. And I want to mention that they actually sent out an update ahead of launch, which made the objectives less vague. But like, even myself, I sat here for, I think 15 or 20 minutes doing almost suicide runs just to try to figure out where this tunnel entrance is. And it just like does not tell you. But then like later levels, it would like over tell me where things were, and it was really bizarre because I was genuinely confused. Because basically I moved through this area. Where is that guy shooting at me from? Yeah, so basically I moved through this area a few times. Boom! And the X-rays, gnarly as always, as they should be. The X-rays are fantastic. And this is where it is it's this door. But I walked by that door like a few times, and it never, like, I actually walked up against the door and it never gave me a prompt to open that door. So, because my first assumption was the guy was going to be in that building at the bottom. But like, I literally went up to that door and there was no prompt. And then I like retried it a little bit later with like a different save. This is what I talk about. Isn't that ridiculous that my save or my checkpoint is literally like not where the last objective was? That's what I'm talking about. It's like the checkpoints are so bizarre in this. And that's the other thing too, is like, as I was mentioning, the AI, and then in comparison to just like checkpoint knowledge as to like where you're going to do stuff. It's kind of bizarre. Like, I got a better grasp of what I'm supposed to do for the objectives after I had like played a few levels. I was like, okay, so it's more like you really have to follow this on the left side there, the perimeter, and that will kind of tell you where you're going. But it's kind of weird because like, you know, I've never, like, I've played like almost all of these games, like almost every Sniper Elite game, I think, 3 and 1 I haven't played. I've played all of the other stuff. And I don't remember ever not knowing where I'm going and what I'm doing. I don't remember that ever being kind of an issue with the other Sniper Elite games. So I found that really bizarre in this one, where it was like legitimately confusing at times where I was, like, what I was trying to find stuff. So once I got kind of an idea of like how they changed how you find things in this game, or maybe it's just me not knowing things properly on this one, I don't know. I'm sure other people have different thoughts when they go in and play it. But I just, like, I kind of was getting a laugh where I was reading the review guide notes, and they're like, yeah, so we did an update, like, you know, before I was, like, jumping in on stuff, and they're like, we made the objectives less vague, and I was like, they were more vague before? I was like, what? So I got a bit of a kick out of that, but, yeah, it's just kind of a bit odd. Like, it feels like a little tighter, a little bit more rushed out, kind of a Sniper Elite game. And it's still great. Like, it's still a good experience. I still really, you know, like this game. I don't, you know, but I just wanted to really get across that this one does, you know, I just had some issues in some of the elements here. Like, again, visually, I think this looks fantastic. It's really clean. It's very clear. It's crisp. You know, little aliasing stuff on some of the building things, which is weird. But, like, it runs perfectly fine. It looks fine. I like the character as I got to know him more, or got to play it. It's very much on brand with another Sniper Elite. I do wish they would evolve the narrative a bit more, kind of focus on storytelling characters a bit more. But, like, you know, I think if you are coming from previous Sniper Elite games, this is a very satisfying continuation for the series. Like, I am, you know, pleased with what I played here. I'd recommend it. I think you can have fun playing it. And if you're new to the Sniper Elite series, it's a fine entry point, because, you know, it's just kind of, like, all of them are basically just, like, one-offs. Like, it's just a sniper dude going in and blasting and blowing things. But I think you could come in here fresh, and I think you could enjoy the series and get to know it. And I would highly recommend actually going and playing, you know, the other entries in the franchise, if that makes sense. Like, there's lots of other Sniper Elite games, and they're all very good in their own ways, and, you know, they're all quite enjoyable. And it's just kind of neat, too, because I do really believe that this one heavily leans on the foundations of what we're set up with Sniper Elite 5. And it's just, like, it feels a little tighter. I don't know if it was, like, a bit of a budget thing or something like that. And there's secondary objectives on some maps, too. So that guy was, like, a dude I was supposed to kill for another objective. And then we've got all these exfiltration options on how we get out of here. We could also find stolen resistance files. You know, it's really how you want to go about playing it and doing it. Whereas if you played Hitman, I do think it's fair to have, like, a similar type comparison, but I still do believe the Sniper Elite games have a bit of their own flair and style to them. And then there's, like, a ranking of how well you did, and, you know, stuff like that. It's quite interesting, and I do really enjoy it. Like, I think this is great. I do recommend playing it. There's a workbench you can customize your gear to, and your equipment, and there's a little bit of a supporting cast, but you don't really get to know them too much. And there's a lot of stuff that, like, leans off the legacy of other, you know, Sniper Elite games too. Little reference things. There's, like, collectible stuff you can find. There's also, like, poster challenges that are a thing too in the menu. I forgot to talk about that mode, but it's, like, just kind of splicing stuff a little bit. So I'd say it's a pretty solid follow-up for Sniper Elite. I think you can have fun playing this. I would recommend taking a look at it, just keeping in mind some of the issues I had, but I think you'll get a grasp of them and kind of roll through it. And I think more, I do believe they will update things and fine-tune it, so by the time you go to play it as well, it probably will be fine and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of an ambitious open world or open hub world type setup of maps and missions where you go in and you become, like, a super cool sniper. You do these crazy missions, complete these goals, and I think you can really have a good time playing this. and hopefully you give Sniper Elite Resistance a try. It looks great here on the Pro, very happy, and I had a great time playing it.